everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Nina. I'm a life transformation coach, and today I'm going to be answering yet another one of your amazing questions. So jumping right in, the question is, why do I always seem to have trouble achieving my dreams and reaching my goals? Probably sounds familiar, right? I think we all go through this feeling from time to time. And so I'm definitely going to answer the question, but also a wonderful story popped into my head. It's one of my most treasured memories, and I think it has a lot to do with this question. So I'm going to share that at the end. I'm going to try to tell the story without crying. It's so beautiful to me, but I think it really hits home what I want to say about this topic. So firstly, I want to say that I'm going to jump past the possibility that the reason that you're not achieving your dreams and goals is because you are lazy or unmotivated, or there is some kind of external obstacle that is preventing you from reaching these goals, which are all possibilities. But I'm going to jump over those today because I think more often than not, it has to do with something that is completely different. I think for most people, and it actually comes down to the fact that they simply don't believe that it is possible, at least not for them. So this is something that I ask them about. Do you truly believe that this is impossible? And they will talk through it and realize that, well, yes, it's possible. I guess it's possible, but it's not probable. And I think that that is actually a huge breakthrough, because there is a huge difference between something not being possible and something that seems just too far out of reach. Because when we have something that we don't believe is possible, we're certainly not going to try, because we don't think that anything we are going to do is actually going to matter. We're going to give everything a very half-hearted attempt. We're not going to put that much effort into it because we don't think that we're going to actually get anywhere. And I think that in actuality is what is happening for most people. They don't believe that they can actually do this. So how much effort do you think that you're really going to put into, achieving this goal that you don't think is actually possible? Pretty much nothing. So I think that is where we really need to start out. We have to come to the realization that the number one factor in something actually being probable is us. We are that factor. It's going to come down to the amount of work and the amount of effort and the amount of risks that we're willing to take and how far we are willing to go. It's always so interesting to me how we can look at the achievements of other people and think it must have been so easy for them, or it's so likely that they're able to do these things, when we look at our own life and we think that things are impossible for us. We don't believe that we can do it, but somehow we believe that other people are capable of doing whatever they want. And it's simply that they went out and they tried. They believed that they could do it, so they actually took the steps necessary for them to actually achieve these things, which never happens for us because, again, we don't have that belief. I cannot stress enough how much that belief actually can change our life. If something is possible for another person, it is possible for us as well. We always think that everyone is so different than we are, that a celebrity is in no way similar to who we are. But they're only a celebrity because they went out and did whatever it is that they wanted to do, and they got famous for it. And that's something that, if we want to do, is possible for us as well. It all comes down to believing it's possible, so we set it all into motion. And I wanted to go ahead and tell that story that popped into my mind because I think it has everything to do with believing in possibilities and believing in yourself. So this story has to do with my little nephew, who is no longer little anymore. He is a full-grown man, but this happened when he was a cute little person. And he was a little guy that was so into medieval times. He wanted to be a knight in shining armor, and he was so interested in that whole era, and he loved swords and sword fightings and all the things of the like. So we decided that we were going to take him on this epic trip to Disney World, and we went ahead and did that. And instead of wanting to go on any of the rides, he wanted to do only two things that are both no longer there actually. One is he wanted to repeatedly go to this store, this little shop that was part of the castle there, and in this shop they sold nothing but swords. They had all different kinds of swords, and he just wanted to look at all of them and imagine and fantasize about which sword he would own when he got bigger. So we went to that store probably like 1,000 times. And then the other thing he wanted to do was in the center of the park, and they had this big giant rock which was supposed to be the sword and the stone, or from the sword and the stone. And inside the rock they had part of the sword, and he kept trying to pull it out. He thought he was going to be like Arthur and pull the sword out of the stone, which of course did not happen, even though he tried repeatedly. So throughout the day we basically just went back and forth between these two things. We went to the store to look at the swords, and then we went to see the sword and the stone and see if we could pull it out. He did this like 100 times. And then we found out that they were going to be having this big show where Merlin was going to come out, and someone would be selected to be the king of the day, and they would have the opportunity to attempt to pull the sword out of the stone. So of course we had to go see this show, and we were right in the front, and magical moments of magical moments, Merlin asked my little nephew if he wanted to be the one to attempt to take the sword out of the stone. And this sweet little boy was the shyest little boy you could ever imagine, and he just froze because he knew he could not take the sword out of the stone. He had done this 1,000 times that day, and not one time did the sword actually come out of the stone. But all of a sudden, he just got this determined look on his face that maybe, just maybe, it would really be possible this time. And even though he was such a timid little boy, he let go of my sister's hand, and he started to walk with Merlin over to this stone. And they played this loud music, and they introduced him, and they said that he was going to attempt to pull the sword out of the stone. And lo and behold, when the music played, he was able to successfully do so. And of course, we were all crying, and they put this big crown on his head, and they put this cape on him, and they paraded him around and said that he was able to make the rules of the day. And I always think back to that time, and it makes me so emotional because I think it really changed him as a person, because he saw the power of believing in your dreams and believing in possibilities, even when you have failed repeatedly at something. And I know it really changed something for me that day, just watching someone believe in themselves. And I'm a very fortunate person because I came from a family that always told me that anything was possible. So I've really always had that belief my whole life. And I know for so many people that they simply do not have that belief. They were always told that they had to kind of live inside the cones, and they had to live a life that's very limited and safe. And so we kind of get conditioned that way when we are taught that. But what I want to share with you today is that it's never too late to change your belief in yourself and your belief in your own possibilities, because anything in this world is possible. Anything that we can think of is possible. Every dream that's ever been achieved just started out as a thought, as a belief, and it became a reality. So without that belief, we can never make anything a reality. So to answer the question, I think it really comes down to believing in the fact that it is possible. And I assure you, anything is possible. So I'm definitely curious. Let me know in the comments below what dreams and goals that you do have that maybe you haven't really believed were possible, and how you are going to work on believing in the possibility. Because remember, when we believe that something is possible, therefore it can become probable, because we're willing to do the work and effort that it requires to actually achieve these dreams. Because it's not that when we believe something magically it just all comes into fruition. We have to take all the necessary steps, but we're willing to do that when we know that something really is possible. So thank you guys so much for spending time with me today. I hope you enjoyed my story about my nephew. It's something that is near and dear to my heart and something that I always find inspiring when I think about. Thank you also for sending in these amazing questions. Keep them coming. I love to answer them. And if you aren't already a subscriber, please go ahead and connect. We want you to be part of the family. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Have an amazing day, guys. Take care.